Hi guys, good evening. It's 5 o'clock exactly in London, and I have come on live again. Gosh, I've been a busy man today. I've come live again to talk to two restaurant designers. This is a chat regarding restaurant trade at the moment. Yesterday I had Shainul Kasem, lady who knows everything about law. So I called upon her help, and we spoke to her about all the issues we restaurateurs are going at the moment, and things we know, things we don't know, and how we should join them and talk to them. Communication was the word which she repeated a number of times. But great advice, great piece of advice from her. So I am continuing that streak and going to talk to two restaurant designers today. One is Natasha from Blue Feather Design and Dale from Ross and Dale. They are great, both of them, and they're experts in their own fields, but two different perspectives perhaps. I might have different set of questions or similar questions, but we'll see how the talk goes. And if Natasha is here, I'll see if I can ask her to join. Okay, yes, Natasha is here. By the way, Vaishali, good to see you. Creative Design ID, good to see you. Hi, Natasha, how are you?
Hi, Chef. How are you?
I'm good. How's your day been today?
It's been good, productive. Had a webinar this morning with some restaurant owners that went well. So yeah, good and productive, I think, for a change. How's your day
Good.
been?
My day has been hectic. I've been talking a lot. So my wife was saying, "What do you do for a living? Do you cook or do you talk?" I said, "Bit of both." So,
Both.
so Natasha, why don't you just introduce yourself and your company to people who are online with us?
Sure, yes. So my company is called Blue Feather Designs, as you've introduced. Been going for around 3 years now. And I guess the USP for my business is that we focus on sustainable design, so looking at using eco-friendly materials within the designs, but also given my business history, I try and help business owners kind of make sure that what they do is a sustainable approach as well. So in terms of staffing, in terms of how they source their produce, etc., etc. So there's loads of elements to it. But so I kind of do both together.
Right. Right.
So that's it.
And family-wise, you got two kids are here, right?
Yes, that's right. I've got a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. Luckily, they're independent, so I don't have to do homeschooling at the moment because I know that's what everybody's struggling with right now.
I know. Well, good on you. Good on you. So they're pretty independent, and they are on their computers and busy
Yeah.
doing what they're supposed to do.
Oh, pretending to anyway.
I'm sure we have done it in our times.
I've told them I'm the master of disguise, so I invented all the excuses that they give me right now, but it's fine. I know they're happy, so it's good enough.
It's
How are you getting
hectic.
on with schoolwork?
All okay. You know, the kids are busy, and I think my wife Dipti is slowly getting used to of me being around for so long. Uh, I'm just waiting for her to tell me one day that now it's time that you go. So I've started kind of opening my restaurants for delivery services. So we open Kanishka
Tomorrow, isn't it? Or
tomorrow,
Friday?
Friday. Sorry, tomorrow we are
Friday,
opening
yeah.
Indian Essence in Bromley, and Kanishka on Friday, and then we are going to open Hawkins, fingers crossed, in Emersham on 14th. So yes, so I've started slowly going back. So yeah, I think these chats will become maybe lesser now. So I think I'll make most of it till the time I'm still here at home. So Natasha, straight back to our conversation regarding restaurant design. Yeah, you must have been in middle of a couple of restaurants at least when this COVID-19 thing came along. So
Yes.
what was the reaction, and how did you adjust, or how did the owners of the restaurant adjust it to the new situation?
A bit of both, really. So one of them is mid-project, and they were quite happy to continue. The only problem being, obviously, the contractors have left site and don't want to continue. So it's kind of managing the expectations. So it started now that the contractors are like, we'll come in one by one, kind of finish off. They were at second fix stage, so it was a decent progress already.
Okay.
So they're kind of just about starting up again. A couple of others, we just literally were in talks of starting, kind of got the concepts ready, and then all of this happened. So that's just on pause right now. So I think for me, I'm just trying to do what I can. There will obviously be some tweaks in the design as well. So it's kind of readapting and revisiting what we talked about initially, and just trying to make the best of the situation right now.
Sure. We don't have the new guidelines, the social distancing guidelines, and it looks like this social distancing thing will be quite a permanent thing, at least for a short while. So as a designer, what have you started thinking, what you need to do and how you need to lay out the place in terms of, as an owner of the restaurant, what I'll be anxious about is whether I'll have enough covers to make my numbers work. So all those things would be a kind of very hardy thing for you to kind of suddenly face it. And also the restaurant which already are there, they might be coming back to you saying that we need to rejig the place, redesign, and what do you recommend? So what's going through your mind? That what are the regulations you are predicting that will be there?
I think, as you said, I think they're going to be guidelines. I don't think they will be regulations per se, because every restaurant is so different in size. It's going to be very difficult for them to implement a regulatory framework for how many covers there should be. But in terms of guidelines, I think we can look to other countries and see what they're doing and try and be proactive in our approach, because our government is slightly slower than other countries in implementing these changes. But, if we look at Ireland, for example, they've already issued their recommended guidelines, which is generally around reducing covers and reducing contact, but they haven't really specified distancing or anything like that. So I think it's inevitable that we have to think about social distancing. But what I would recommend to restaurant owners at the moment is not to panic and not to think, oh, I've got to change everything, because obviously it's going to be different things for different people. Okay. And it's not just about the amount of covers. What you really need to think about is the traffic flow. So how many people coming in and out of the restaurant is going to be more important than how many covers you've got. And that's equally important in terms of staffing as well. So the service to the tables is part of that traffic flow.
Right.
So in terms of, it's all very well having spaced out tables, but if in the end the customers and the waiters are going to go like this, it's pointless. So that's the kind of thing you need to think about in terms of, trying to figure out a design that works for you and your service and the way that your business model works. And like you said, in the short term, as you're doing as well, most restaurants are going to be adopting click and collect or delivery type of model. Yeah. So you don't really need to think about this in the very short term. What you do need to think about is the whole contactless situation. So, making sure you don't take cash, tips going through, apps and things like that, that's all present at the moment. It's just a matter of adopting new ways of working. And I think in terms of design, what's really important, again, is to really focus on the contactless situation. So, things like phased bookings, which most restaurants do anyway, in terms of booking tables and things like that. But being just a bit more strict about, this is your allocated slot and this is what time you can come in, and that kind of thing. So it's all about managing the traffic flow within the site that will be more important, I think.
Do you see restaurants opening for longer hours? Because obviously, if I was a 100-seater restaurant and I did those 100 covers within 3.5 hours, no way I will be able to do that anymore. So either I decide that, okay, the whole business model adjusts to the number of covers I could do, or expand, or the kind of give a bigger slot in terms of number of hours I will operate. What do you think was more logical way of going about it?
Again, it's, every business is going to be different. And what you've got to be careful of as business owners is burnout, isn't it? So you don't want to be working all hours and then you're still not making your money back. I think you've got to be realistic. around the world, you're seeing around a third of the income that you previously saw. So if you go around that, I know it sounds really abysmal, but I think the key here is to kind of forward plan. So if you think, right, it's going to be a third, you're not going to panic that it's going to be more or less. It's what it is. And then you can kind of make sure you adapt accordingly. So, initially you can say, right, we're only going to be open for the kind of the peak times, so breakfast, lunch, dinner. Then you might see actually it's getting busier, so we can adopt it. We can, kind of go all day. And then you might think, right, actually we can increase longer hours now because there is the demand for it. And I think the key there is just to be flexible about it and go with the consumer demand, because you just don't know, do you, at the moment, what's going to happen. And it's so important to regain that trust from consumers as well.
Yeah.
And it's going to take time.
I think this is such a delicate topic, to be honest, in terms of consumer confidence. It's not that they won't have confidence in the product or the place itself or the concept. It's just that the scale for their health.
Absolutely.
And I think this is right in the kind of heart of the whole thing. And it's a panic. Every person would panic on situation like this. I would panic. Why blame others? So as a restaurateur, for me, my job is actually 3 or 4 times or quadrupled in terms of kind of figuring out that how I can bring the consumer back into my dining space. It's not going to be easy. We know that for sure. But I think in the midterm, short to midterm, I think delivery service is the best way that we can give them confidence that we are cooking hygienic food with the social distancing norms. So we will provide you wherever you are comfortable, and then slowly, maybe slowly, they will start coming back into the restaurants. Can you hear me, Natasha? I think there's a little bit of lag, guys, in the internet.
Sorry. Sorry, not sure if that's you or me.
No problem. I saw that there was a lag. So did you hear what I said? So I was just saying that I think it's going to be a little bit more time before people will get confident about the social places, be it restaurants or banquet halls. And I don't know. I think that we don't have a huge culture of street vendors. I was talking to another chef this afternoon, about street vendors in India, but we don't have a massive culture of street vendors. But there are some markets like Camden Town Market. And then also in Brixton we have a street market. So there are some cultures of street markets, and I think nobody has actually ever reached out to them to understand here in the UK that how you guys are planning to come back, whether the bounce back policy would apply to them or not as a small business. I'm sure it will, but I think it's a matter of discussion and trying to find out who is doing what at the moment. But from the design perspective, what other things as a restaurateur I should start thinking or at least be worried about? What you are telling me is actually, don't worry, don't sweat, it'll be okay.
I'm feeling very positive. That's the kind of mindset that I prefer to adopt. It's all very well panicking, but you're not going to get anything out of it. So again, it's kind of trying to plan and do what you can with the time that you've got, because you can't predict the future. So it's pointless to stress about what could happen when nobody's got a crystal ball. Like I said, in terms of design, I think you can learn from other countries. So what I've seen, again, in terms of social distancing, for example, they've done the whole the time allocated slots so that you've got a set number of people at a set time, so you know how you can manage that. Then there's the whole contactless in terms of payment, but also throughout the premises as well. So the doors should all be sensor operated, for example. The technology is all out there. It's a case of implementing. Things like HVAC, filtration systems, you can get standalone units that are cost effective. You can implement them straight away.
So
if you are able to.
When you say standalone, what do you mean by that? In one specific area? Or so you can get specific units in so obviously Kanishka's quite a large premises, and you can have maybe 2 units in there. Smaller premises could probably have 1 and get away with it. Okay. What is important is to have something and then kind of communicate with your clients about it. So, going back to the consumer confidence, it's about telling them, look, this is all the things that we are implementing to make sure that your health and safety is paramount.
not just yours, ours, employers, employees as well. So
Yeah.
everybody should be safe and should be well, and that's the forefront of our business, and that's key here. I think that's what restaurant owners need to think about. In fact, all of the hospitality industry need to think about is what are you doing and how are you communicating to the clients that this is how important they are and how important their health and well-being is to you. So HVAC system is just an example of a filtration system where you can say we've implemented this and it's, high-tech technology and, the air is clean and bacteria proof or whatever it is. And then there's simple things like copper is traditionally used in Indian culture for many, many years, as you must know. But it's thought to be the best surface that's antimicrobial naturally. So viruses can only sit on there. So I think I'd have to check. I think 2 hours is the maximum, whereas other surfaces, it can be days. So copper surfaces like worktops, tabletops, handles, even everything you can coat in copper is a good idea right now. But again, you have to kind of make sure that you make it so that it fits in with the rest of your decor so it doesn't look odd. But
yeah, so that's a big challenge. So my
Yeah.
restaurant is more platinum looks, and the moment you started saying copper, I said, "Oh my god, how
Yeah,
do
what
I
are
do
you going to do?
that?" So I think it's going to be an issue there. So because aesthetics are also very important. It's a great part of the restaurant theme, to be honest. And we may not be able to implement all of it, but I think in some form it can be, or at least the people who are in the middle of restaurant design, they can actually think about it that, yeah, this will be helpful. We should do this. Yeah. Great piece of advice. So in terms of you as a designer, you are very positive that this can be handled, this can be looked after. And also the air conditioning aspect was quite important, because if the ducts are mixed up, then people worry about it. But if you have the individual systems lined up, then people say, yeah, it's okay. It's extracting from one place, throwing it out. It's not circulating it. So I think that has been it has actually increased the cases in some of the countries. The air conditioning has helped spread the virus. But if you had individual system working, then it works a lot better. Chances are the larger restaurants will have that issue because they often all the ducts are merged. Not many restaurants take individual ducts out because that's part of the design. You want to kind of maximize your investment. So, but I think going forward, it sounds like a right decision that get individual ducts put in. Should we have to face this ever again? Hopefully not. Never in my lifetime, at least, or my children. Okay. But I think it's a clever way to look at it. If you are in the middle of it, but the people who are already there and they have their shops set up, they would have to work very differently. I take it the fresh air system, the HVAC unit, as you said.
And it will be. I mean, a lot of people will complain, and they have been complaining that it's all very well you telling me this, but it's going to cost a lot of money. Big time. It is, and I completely appreciate that, which is why I was saying there's different levels to it, as there is with everything. For example, I was talking about the copper. You can get solid copper worktops, but you can also get copper cladding as well, which is cheaper. So and with the HVAC systems, you can get the standalone units, which are going to be a lot more cost effective than a whole integrated system, which is obviously going to cost a huge amount of money. But having in the short term, in the interim at least, having those standalone units might cost you a few hundred, but it will give you that kind of peace of mind and your customers that peace of mind that you're actually actively doing something as well. Because I think for restaurant owners, it's very, well, I'm not saying easy, but it's quite kind of common to wait for the guidelines and wait till you're told what to do. But by that time, you're going to be losing a lot of revenue. And I feel that it's so important to be proactive on this, not wait for guidelines and actually take a stand yourself. Think about what other countries are doing, follow suit. Most of it is common sense.
So which are the other countries that are doing this already?
There's pretty much all over the world. I mean, if you take South Korea, for example, they've implemented a lot of this already. And China have implemented most of this eons ago. So So it's just a matter of catching up, really. You know, I think as a culture, the Brits are quite resistant to change sometimes. And yeah, it's just about kind of adopting to the new world, really, because that's what it's going to be post-COVID. I think it's not going to be the same again. And it is going to be a new world. But I think we can adopt to it, and people like yourself that feel like, you know, I'm going to proactively do something about this, and I'm going to stay in the industry, will do. But it's the people that are thinking, well, I can't afford it, and I'm going to give up right now, probably won't, and that's probably quite controversial to say. But I think you need to look at the long game and think about the future in a positive light, and think, right, there are small changes I can make. It is a matter of consumer confidence, but you're not alone. That's, you know, the whole world is the same right now. What I've seen actually in the British market, which is quite interesting, is that they haven't given up on takeaways and deliveries. I've seen actually loads of people kind of looking forward to their takeaways and their deliveries, whereas in other countries they were totally away from it. They didn't want anything to do with, you know, anything that's not cooked at home. They wanted to stay well clear. So that's quite interesting, and that might be an indication of how things go and how well you know, things pick up again, which I'm hoping.
I think every country is in kind of, they have individual national attitude stroke trait, you can say.
Yeah.
British have always been little risk takers, so I think we continued with our streak of and love for food, to be honest. So we have continued having our takeaways. You know, even us, you know, perhaps I can cook anything at home, whatever we want, but comes a time when you get sick of it and you want to order something from outside, and I have done that. I could make pizzas easily at home, but I've ordered pizzas from outside. I've had other takeaways, but you know, because I got sick of cooking, and I didn't want my wife to cook. She was all tired, and I said, okay, order in. Don't worry, we'll be okay. So, but honestly, if you had the hot food and you had it, if you had the confidence from the supplier, then you know that your food was absolutely right and good. So now beyond this, now this is the negative part, and another positive part. Let's move to the positive part. Hoping that world will be fine, world will be okay, we all will be back to normal. Thank you for infusing that confidence in us. So we now, as I'm in the middle of having 2 restaurants being designed at the moment, one in London and one outside London. So are there any trends you think are going to change? Something new coming up? What as a new restaurant or as a restaurateur who's designing a new restaurant, what I should look out for?
I think, as I said, it's trying to regain that customer confidence. And before COVID, what I was saying to clients is, you know, you need to give people a reason to come out and eat with you. There was a huge, you know, kind of a boom in the Deliveroo and the Uber Eats and all of that pre-COVID as well. Because people are quite comfortable sitting at home and ordering in. So to eat out, you need to give them a reason. You need to give them that whole experience, which is why I think fine dining will be impacted less than your average kind of high street restaurant. And that's because people want that experience. People want that special kind of occasion feel when they go out. They want it to be special. And in terms of design, again, going back to the consumer confidence and kind of I think going forward, people are going to be more cautious about, you know, health, well-being, and all of that. So in terms of design, what I see is a lot more greenery. So biophilic design.
Apologies.
Yeah. So no, that's fine. So I was saying about greenery within restaurants, warm colors, so things that make people feel happy and safe and warm, and kind of that cocooning feel. So it's about making, you know, there's a strong focus on psychology within interior design.
What's the word you use? Aqua?
Biophilic design.
Biophilic. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just the use of plants. Warm colors, yeah. So I feel like, you know, people want to feel safe, and color psychology has got a lot to do with that. So, you know, staying away from the cold tones like